All right, so I'm not going to tell you that hard work doesn't matter. But I will say there's some other variables that are important. So the people that win are going to lie to you because they want to tell you things that are going to stroke their ego, like I never missed a sprint, or I never missed a practice, or I was always the first one in the gym and the last one to leave. Those kind of stories, because it strokes their ego. It makes them feel better than you because they can say, I did all these things, you want what I have. And the people that didn't get their desired outcome, the AKA losers, they don't want to speak up because now it makes it seem like they're making excuses. But today I have two clips that I feel like will iterate what I've been saying on this channel for years now, back in 2016. And that is, there are other factors other than just working hard. There are other variables that people are now talking about.
Hoop loudy.
So if you're anything like me, when you first started playing the game of basketball, whatever sport you played, you got mesmerized by this idea that if you just worked hard enough, you could make your dreams a reality. And that was something that was beaten to me when I first began as a student athlete. And it was something that I remember as just playing basketball on the blacktop, that if I just worked hard enough, then I can go D1. If I just work hard enough, then I can go to NBA. If I just work hard enough, I can be a multi-millionaire playing a game I love just because I worked hard enough. And that mindset translated over to school as well. If I just worked hard enough, I could be a physical therapist. If I could work just hard enough, I could be a doctor, and so on and so forth. But as I got older, I realized there were some other variables that came into play. And just that whole working hard thing is different from person to person. Some people have a different starting place than others. Say, for instance, this first clip we're going to show you with Amari Stoudemire. If you don't know who Amari Stoudemire is, back in his day, which was not that long ago, he was a crossbreed. He was like a cross between Kevin Garnett and Blake Griffin. He was super versatile on any part of the floor, and he also could dunk like Blake Griffin. Did I mention he came out of high school? He came out of high school, and if that story wasn't good enough, this guy only played 4 years of organized basketball before playing in the NBA and scoring 30 and 40 points on people. His first 2 years in the league.
Been playing organized basketball for 4 years. So I know the fundamentals on how to do anything kind of like in a structured way. I was learning at the time. My high school coach was like, hey, this kid's great. Just go out there and play.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So for you, like a lot of people say, man, it was hard. It was long. Do you really feel like it was hard for you to make the NBA? Like you started playing at 14, 4 years later, you getting drafted number 9 in the NBA. Like was that? Did it seem? I know you went through transferring and doing it, but I'm talking about from a strictly basketball standpoint. Did it seem like this was like something that was the hardest thing in your life to do?
It wasn't. It didn't feel hard at all, man. I felt like
I'm telling you.
I felt like it was a God gift. You know what I'm saying? I was tall, I was athletic, and I was always quick and fast.
So how do you even compute that? In a world they say, well, you have to work hard. How does that even happen to him? When there are people that have been playing the game of basketball for double, if not triple the number of years he played before he got to the NBA. How did he make that happen? He was given some God-given gifts that he made use of. He was in the right opportunity, the right systems where coaches believed in him, and that makes a difference. It makes a difference. So, and I'm just bringing this up because I hate to see you feel like that you're a loser because you didn't make something work, because you were sold this dream like much of us all were, as far as, all you have to do is work hard. And if that clip wasn't good enough for you, I want you to check out the second clip.
I haven't won on any level. I can't say that I'm a winner.
Yeah.
I don't want my career to end like that. Can you say that I'm a loser? No. I'm somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But
no, you're not somewhere in there because, man, you know how much you overcome to get to this position.
But I want, give me, a championship ring, whether it be high school,
but we
college.
all can't win.
I'm going to say it like this because I'm a person that didn't win a championship in the NBA, but I think what made me not, like you say, not a loser, we weren't, everybody can't be a world champion.
I'm just saying that's
I wasn't
though.
you definitely should want that. You should not ever stop working for it. But for me, I know you're not a loser because of like he said, what you've overcome and the way you work at it. You only put everything you got into it, and then sometimes the chips fall this way, sometimes they don't. Everybody know in this league, in all sports, to win a world championship, it ain't just hard work, effort. It's luck. It's things happening, things going your way. It's all type of things. So that's like one of the hardest things in the world to do. So you should never feel like you know what I'm saying, like a loser. Like you see, you listen to Charles and all the jokes, but like everybody know Barkley's not no loser, or you know them guys that didn't win. Like it's some crazy
not a loser,
killer players that didn't win a chip. And
as long as you give it your all every night, if you put it all on the line, you put the work in and all that stuff, and you can walk away from it, you know, with your chest up high. You know what I'm saying? And that's all that count. But we all probably put it, because everybody don't be in position to win championships. Everybody don't get a chance to be on the team. You got some players that play for bad teams their whole career. Every team that I went to, my whole career was about starting over. So I didn't get a chance to play in the playoffs no time. And I used to see players in the playoffs and like, man, I know I'm better than dude. And he got the opportunity.
When on the same podcast with Quentin Richardson and Darius Miles, they're interviewing Jimmy Butler or Jimmy Buckets. Now he's played for different teams, whether it be Chicago, whether it be Minnesota, whether it be, who else did he play for? He played for somebody else up there. Minnesota Timberwolves. He played for somebody else up there. I know he's in Miami right now, but he plays for someone else up there right now. I can't think of it. But anyway, workhorse in the league. He started off as a junior college player, went on to go to Marquette. But in this podcast, Darius Miles and Quentin Richardson were questioning him about, what he wanted to do in the league, and Jimmy looks at him and says, I don't consider myself a winner because I haven't won a championship. I don't consider myself a winner because I haven't won a championship. Now, how many of us are guilty of that same thing? That we don't have this one metric, we don't have this one trophy, we don't have this one trinket, and that means everything's been a failure. We didn't make the dean's list, we didn't make the honors roll, we didn't make the basketball team. That means that we're a failure. But the best part of the interview for me is when Quentin Richardson was like, "Look, I didn't win an NBA championship, but I don't feel like a loser." And then he goes into the same thing I've been saying from day one, and he starts saying it has everything to do with it has a lot to do with the situations you're in, variables that you cannot control, the teams you're on, right? You don't have any control over the teams you're on, your teammates, the system you're running. So you can work hard, and that doesn't mean that you're going to get that end result that you want. Furthermore, when you do that and you come up short, that doesn't mean you're a loser. Listen, we can take this thing away from basketball. We can take this thing away from sport and just talk about academics in general. For the normal student athlete or your student period in college, you're going to change your major. You're going to bump your head a couple times and try some things out and figure out it doesn't work. And listen, in that process, first of all, you got to bring your work ethic. You got to bust your behind and get stuff done. But in that process, you will be selling yourself short to say, just because I didn't make it to this desired outcome, this desired metric or trophy, that means everything's a loss. That means I'm just a failure. You're not. There's so much things that you gain in that process. And I'm glad that these two clips help iterate the same thing I've been saying for years. But if I were to say it, I look like a loser making excuses, and you never hear it from the quote-unquote champions, all these celebrities that y'all crazy about as far as NBA, whatever sport you're into. These individuals never talk about, they took some other variables to help me get to where I'm at other than just me working hard. Beforehand, you asked your favorite celebrity how they made it to where they were at, and what were they going to tell you? Oh, man, I was the first in the gym, last one to leave. I made sure I studied film. You don't think there's a slew of other individuals that did that same thing and didn't get that outcome? So what's the difference? There are some variables that you benefited from that other people didn't. Some of those variables you can control. Some of those variables are your work ethic, your attitude, being a good teammate, getting in early, staying late, taking care of your body, making sure that you're avoiding injuries by making sure you ice your knees and doing these different rehabs and whatnot. They talk about LeBron and how much he invested in his body and his diet and whatnot. It's real. But there's some other variables that you don't control. There's things like the system that you're in. Does it complement the type of player that you're in? I know when I was a senior in college, my coach already had it made up in his mind that we're going to run the Princeton. I can shoot a lick. Me running to Princeton was not going to work for me. So for some individuals that are knockdown sharpshooters, that offense works for them. The Princeton typically are for individuals that are not very athletic, that can shoot, that is a threat to shoot, drive, and pass. The heck is your problem, dude? You see me shooting this video? That's a mosquito? Are you kidding me? Now, am I saying that hard work isn't important? No, I'm not saying that at all. Am I saying that it's not even required or needed? I'm not saying that either. In fact, I'm a firm believer that it is the only way that you can exhaust your potential. Because if you don't put forth that hard work, then you'll always be in guess mode trying to figure out if you actually could have made that goal you wanted to make, whether it be academically or whether it be athletically. So you might as well go balls out and try to get it, because if you don't, you'll always be guessing if you could have made it. The reason for this video is because I don't want you to get to the end of your journey as far as being a student athlete and feel like the game owes you something. Because let me tell you something, this game will go on without you. They still say that Michael Jordan is the best to ever touch the ball, and they're still making money off people playing basketball long after he's been playing. The same thing is going to be said for you. But when you have that sense of entitlement, that the game owes you something, you're going to feel empty. You're going to feel like it was all for nothing. And I know that to be true because I've done that myself. I've been that person that felt like, out of all the work that I put in, I should have got more out of it. That's true. I know individuals that have gotten accolades. Player of the year, defensive this, went to a major or Division I school that I know I worked harder than them in college. I worked harder than them in practice. I saw them on a regular basis. But if you're not careful, if you don't get rid of that mentality and you're not careful, that will hinder you more than it's going to help you. The fact of the matter is, you working hard, you applying yourself throughout this process, whether it be in academics or athletics, create something in you that it oftentimes is more desirable than the actual thing, the actual trinket, the actual trophy that you were going for in the first place. So in conclusion, I'll say this. Keep working hard, keep applying yourself, keep studying the game, but don't get so caught up in who's working the hardest, right? Don't get caught up in the game owing you something. Don't get so caught up in, oh, it's a guarantee that if I work hard, then I'll get this. Because that's just not factual. That's just something that people say, especially winners. That's something that winners say to gloat, to puff up their chest, to seem higher or higher and mighty, because it adds to their legacy to continue to just say, oh, I worked hard and leave. Like that's not good information. For anybody that has what you want as far as wherever you want to go, if they only say it's because I worked hard, you need to get as far away from this as possible, because they're too stuck on themselves to be honest. I don't want that to block. I don't want that to blindside you. I don't want you to get hurt, much like a lot of individuals do when they bust their behind all through their student athlete career, when they bust their behind, academically, and they didn't get that metric of success that everyone said they should obtain if they are good or if they're great. I want you to know that you can still be great. You can still it can still be worth it, even though that you didn't make it to that desired outcome that you had your heart set on. Maybe that's just you being reversed into a different direction and having to pivot, and it leads you into something else. Maybe that's the thing.